Hey everyone, so it's the new year again. It happens every 365.25 days, so it's that time again. And while a lot of people like to make New Year's resolutions, I personally don't, and the reason for this is because I never follow through them. Like, I instantly fail even day one. Though I've thought of some things that I've decided, you know what, I need to just do a better job at. I need to actually start trying to do some things, because I've got some bad habits that I need to break. Or things that I just have not given enough love and need to focus on a little more often. So yeah, I've been working on some things like that, but I don't like to say, okay, let's do this for the year or such, because seriously, nobody does that. Nobody ever follows through the resolutions, unless you do, and if you do, that's pretty crazy, but good job, I guess. But in today's video, I actually have been reflecting on not what I've done the past year, but what I've done throughout my entire life, and I've been looking at things on my bucket list that I've been longing to do for so long. Let's talk about some things on my bucket list. I know, a bit crazy, but it's my bucket list, so let's do it. So here's some things that I've already done that I've always wanted to do, and yeah, I guess I can say I've completed. So first thing that I wanted to do, and a lot of this has a bit of a theme to it, but it just shows how much I get out of town a lot, but here we go. Things that I want to do that I've already done: travel outside of the US. I've always wanted to leave the US, and I have done it for 10 minutes on a Sue Locks tour. So because of that, I visited Canada for 10 minutes, and it's just because of the Sue Locks tour. So yeah, I traveled outside the US, just not for a long period of time. Other things I've always wanted to do that I've done is catch a fish. I've always wanted to catch a fish, and I've won a couple of contests actually in fishing. So I'm not exactly the most patient person out there, so it's a bit of a surprise, but hey, I've won a couple of fishing contests, so I can safely say I've completed the catch a fish item on my bucket list. Another thing that I wanted to do, and obviously have done, if I have never done this, then you would not be watching this video actually, start a YouTube channel. I have started, well, one YouTube channel back in, how long ago was that? Oh geez, I don't remember. But not only have I started one, I started 6 more. I kid you not. I can safely say that that's checked off. Next up, again, back to the theme of traveling, I've always wanted to visit the White House and the Lincoln Memorial. And yes, I have done that. If you've watched my touring DC video, you will notice that I've taken selfies by the White House and the Lincoln Memorial. So places I've always wanted to visit, and I finally visited them. That's checked off the bucket list. I've always wanted to do this for some reason, and now I really don't, now that I've actually done it. It's fly on a plane. I do not enjoy flying on a plane. I thought it would be this really cool experience getting to fly above the clouds, except I have a slight problem. I have a really big problem with heights. I hate them a lot. So because of that, the flying experience was not particularly great. I ended up taking the aisle seat both flights I went on to and from DC, but yeah, I did not really enjoy flying on a plane the first time, and the only time I'm going to fly on a plane ever again is if I need to leave the continent, basically. Which I would like to go to Europe at some point. Like, for example, if I were to go to Europe per se, if I were to do that, I need to fly. But if it's somewhere else in the US or maybe Canada or something like that, then I am totally driving. I am not going on another plane again unless I absolutely have to. Once again, that's checked off the bucket list. Thank goodness, because I do not want to do that again. Another thing on my bucket list that I've wanted to do for a while and have actually done, and to my surprise, is to drive an expensive vehicle. What I mean by that is like a luxury car. And I've driven a Cadillac, so that counts as the expensive vehicle. So okay, yeah, that's checked off the list. I'm still trying to get that exact Cadillac on camera, except because it's a Cadillac, we need it to be like professionally washed. We need the weather to be amazing outside. So yeah, we're waiting on some details like that, but there's still plans to get a Cadillac on the Drive channel. It's just waiting for the right opportunity. It's so hard. Another thing I've always wanted to do, which I have actually managed to do, is I've always wanted to see a wolf in the wild. I've seen them in zoos before, but I've always wanted to see one in the wild, and I've actually had that opportunity, believe it or not. I was biking down the snowmobile trail, and oh, guess who appeared from the trail once upon a time? Didn't come after me. In fact, he didn't really take much notice of me, but yeah, I saw a wolf in the wild once. Hope it doesn't happen again, because I had actually forgotten my knife. But yeah, that's checked off the bucket list. And the last thing that I've always wanted to do and have actually succeeded in doing is I've wanted to see a Tesla supercharger in person. I know it's a bit of a weird thing to include on the bucket list, but the reason for this is because I've had an interest in electric cars ever since I saw the Tesla concept, the Model S. And when I saw how they were making it work, I'm like, okay, I know it's not going to happen like right away, but I know it's going to happen soon. And because of that, I've actually wanted to see these superchargers, because I thought finding a Tesla was going to be hard enough because it's on wheels. They're moving all the time. But what doesn't move is a supercharger, unless they decide to demolish it, which they don't do that often. And so yeah, I have seen a supercharger, and where is it? It's actually Custer, South Dakota. I saw that on my South Dakota trip. So I've seen the Custer, South Dakota supercharger. Checked off the list. And now we get to the things that I want to do and have not done yet. So here's the things that I have not checked off on the bucket list. And this doesn't include all of them. These are just the things that I could think of at the top of my head. First thing I want to do is either sit, ride, or drive a Tesla. It doesn't matter. Any of these things could happen. That's something I want to do. I've seen Teslas all the time. There's a couple that drive around my local area, and I've gotten pretty close to one before. I've even parked next to one once, but I've never got to sit in one. I've never got to ride in one, nor have I gotten to drive one, let alone sit in one. Still waiting for that to happen at some point. I have no clue if it'll be in someone else's Tesla, if it'll be a Tesla at a showroom, or if it'll be the one that I buy. So I've yet to see how that happens, but that is something on my bucket list. I am so impatient for that moment to happen. Another thing that I want to do that I haven't done yet is I want to road trip to a lot of other places that I have not visited. Like, for example, California. Me and my sister keep planning this big road trip to California, and yet we're trying to get logistics and all that, and we both know that it's going to be a while before it happens because, first of all, Red Fox is in no condition to road trip, and it's going to cost a lot of money. But yeah, there's places that I want to go, like California, the East Coast. I mean, I've been to DC, but that's pretty much the only place I've been to on the East Coast. I want to see other places like the Statue of Liberty. I want to see Niagara Falls. I want to go to Florida and see what the Florida beaches are like there. I also want to go to Nashville, Tennessee, because that is the home of country music, and I love country music, so there's another place I would like to travel to at some point. I've already been to Canada, but only 10 minutes, and it wasn't even on land. It was just in the water, so I'd also like to drive through Canada as well. And also, if I can ever get over my hatred of heights and, well, planes again, I also want to travel throughout Europe as well, because there's a lot of cool places to see in Europe. Like, one country that I've actually didn't expect to have so much interest in was Norway. Basically, wherever you look in Norway, it's nothing but beautiful scenery. It's crazy. So because of that, I want to visit European countries, including the UK, France, Germany, and Norway. Those are just a bunch to name. There's probably more that I'd visit in Europe if I get the opportunity, but those are some highlights of places that I want to visit. Another thing on the list that I have no clue if this will ever happen or not, but something on my bucket list is I want to own a Tesla Model X. Tesla Model X is my dream car, and those are not cheap. So because of that, I put that on the bucket list to happen at some point. Another thing I want to happen involves all of my YouTube channels, and it's just I want to pass through all the subscriber tiers and such. And actually, I would really love to be able to get a play button of any kind. Be it a silver play button. To me, if I get a silver play button, I think that means I made it. And if I get any more, like say a gold play button, diamond, maybe ruby, I highly doubt the ruby play button will ever reach my studios in my lifetime, but who knows? Maybe someday. But yeah, that's one of my goals. I would really like to get a play button of any kind. But of course, that requires work, and that requires me spending time to film videos and edit them and upload them. It's why I keep making random videos like these, and it's because evidently the more you pump out, the higher the chances you'll get somebody to watch. So still doing that. I am grateful that I finally broke the 100 subscriber mark on 2 of my YouTube channels, the Random Alpha and the Random Alpha Gadgets. So I finally broke the 100 subscriber mark on those. Though a milestone that I would really appreciate hitting right now especially is the 1,000 mark, and that's because monetization comes into play. So really like to get myself up the subscriber tiers. And then there's 3 things left on my list that I am mentioning at the moment because that's what I can think of, and it all involves creativity. First thing is I would really like to make a movie. I've been filming a lot and editing a lot, and I would really like to try to make an actual production film with a budget and a cast and props and sets and such. I would really love to one day make an actual movie. But of course, that requires a lot of time, money, people, and all of those things I just do not have. So yeah, that's going to be a while before that ever happens. Other things that I would like to do that are creative are in the process of trying to write a book. I've had so many book projects going on throughout my life that I've started and then dropped either because I lost interest in the story myself or something's just not making sense and I do not know where to go with it. Some authors know exactly what they want to write, and for them it's easy, but for me, I'm just trying to figure out exactly how I want the story to go. The way I write is I think of something in my head and then I just spit it on paper and see if it sticks, except quite often it just doesn't stick. Once again, I'm trying out another book, but geez, writing a book is not easy. It really is not. Then the last thing is I'm a musician. I would love to publish an album one day, but of course that also requires time, also requires money, believe it or not, because it does require money. You got to maintain your instruments, you got to maintain yourself, especially if you're singing like I I do. Mostly time consuming. That's the biggest problem. It's time consuming. It takes forever to get every note you play right. And oh boy, it's also frustrating too. So not only does it require a lot of time, it requires a lot of patience, something that I just do not have. But anywho, that's basically summing up my bucket list. Those are things that I've done and still want to do, and I hope to accomplish them at some point. Who knows? Maybe I might complete some of these this year. Maybe I won't. I'm gonna find out one way whether I want to or not. And yeah, that's basically it. I'm rambling now. Thank you for watching. Do me a favor and interact with the stuff below. My name is Alpha the Wolf, Random Alpha, signing out.